Well, good morning, and it's Monday again. Monday blues, Monday blues. But no, the national mood is very positive this morning because we saw the African nations off to a 3-0 loss or a victory for us last night, and everybody is pretty buoyant about it. Next up, France. And that is a different kettle of fish because they're the reigning champions. And can we kick them out of touch and get to the final once more? Who knows? But there's certainly a mood of optimism this morning. Certainly a mood of optimism. So let's enjoy it while we may. And we'll see what the day brings. The headlines, of course, are all about the wonderful victory and the things that we that are close to our heart, I suppose. Yes, why not? I think that we can safely say that we should be proud. We should stand tall, and stand tall we will. So let's see what the papers are saying. The Eye, well, they have top scorers. England face France in battle for the Final Four. But mainly it is energy firms target homes in fuel poverty. And the Eye says that some of the big energy companies are targeting the homes of customers who are in poverty. And it says companies are using contentious utility warrants so that they can force entry into the home of a struggling customer. In other words, you're not paying your bill. They can force entry into your home. For what purpose? To take stuff out? Surely court system says that a bailiff must do that. Energy companies can. This surely, if it's true, is an erosion of our civil liberties. It's an erosion of democracy. It's an erosion of the individual liberty. And if it's true, then Rishi, you better get your hands out of your pockets and do something about it because it's unacceptable. Every time we turn around, it appears that in the fat and sassy times, the good times, from about 2012 to 2020, when we were a land of plenty, and so many laws were made, and nobody gave it a fig because everybody was happy. Now coming home to roost, and just coming home to roost when your government and your party is having a very bad time indeed. So let's see if you can do something about that. The Metro has a play on words, OUI. Here we go. And it almost totally concentrates on the victory over Senegal last night, and says we have a thrilling clash with the reigning champions France to look forward to. Yeah, I should. If you're a football aficionado, I should imagine it's a really big one. It's the Daily Star, in its usual light-hearted way. It highlights the victory, but it says that the hangover, Monster Monday, as Three Lions roar into World Cup quarterfinal, is that part. This is a monster hangover, part two, as it says that every time that we win, the nation swallows another pint of beer and keeps going all over the place. And we are waking up with a terrific hangover. The Sun, Glee, Three Kings. It highlights the three goal scorers on its front page, but it's a more disturbing element, and its main headline is Raheem Raid Terror. And it says while the young man was off playing for his country, some thieves, an armed gang, struck by breaking into his house when his fiancée and his children were there. And that is ominous. He had to race back from the tournament after the break-in and the attack on his mansion, while his fiancée and the two children were inside. That is frightening. And if that is starting to happen, well, I don't suppose it's starting to happen. It has been happening. Really, we've got to have police with far more teeth and willing to use, instead of being pally with woke people sticking themselves to bridges and the road. They've got to start to come to grips with the fact there are some pretty nasty people out there who don't react necessarily well to what should we say? Kindness, decency. They are rogues, they are thieves, and that's what they will always be. The Mirror, it's got a little bit about my lovely Debbie McGee. I offered myself as her husband after she lost Paul Daniels, but I didn't get a reply. Oh dear. I don't seem to be appealing to the ladies much at all nowadays. But still hope. Still hope. All right, now for the French, it says. The dream world. England in the quarterfinals, but star Sterling flies home after family's burglary terror. So once again, that's highlighted. The Daily Mail is it also, of course, everybody I think has probably got the victory on the front page, savouring it before we meet the next one. But mainly it's repeating some of Matt Hancock's explosive diaries, and it says Mona, M-O-N-E, that is, who is sitting in the House of Lords, threatened him and others to allow a very lucrative contract with the government during lockdown to be given to her company. And if that's the case, then we really are looking at corruption at a high level. The Guardian, sicker and poorer report reveals Britain's widening health divide. Well, we talk about a wealth divide, but the health divide, people are getting sicker and poorer, with a gaping health and wealth divide between regions getting worse. That's what the Guardian says. It reveals that 2.5 million working age adults are not in employment because of their poor health, raising concerns the government's levelling up agenda is being critically undermined. Yes, the Daily Telegraph. Rail unions refuse to save Christmas. It says that the rail unions have rejected an 8% pay offer and will press on with plans for Christmas walkouts. The Daily Telegraph reports one Conservative MP accused the unions of holding the country to ransom after they turned down the pay rise, ploughing ahead with the strikes planned for December the 12th, December the 13th, 14th, 16th, and 17th. Rail strikes on those days. don't plan to go to London. I think I have got one appointment in London. I'll have to take a look at whether it can be moved or what can happen. The Times, midlife health checks go digital. The Met Office is braced for lightning strikes. In other words, is to find out what's happening to the weather. And incidentally, here in Lewis, although people are now beginning to talk about the possibility of a white Christmas, is today it's only going to reach 8 degrees, and then it's going to get colder as the week progresses. 8 degrees, mild breeze, no rain, and generally speaking, not an unpleasant day out there. The Financial Times it goes back to its roots, and its headline is Brussels promises help for companies to offset the impact of US green subsidies. In other words, the EU has offered to bend the rules for companies who are restricted in competing with contracts with the United States, who have got money to help them make these bids under the US green subsidies. The international deal is that governments will not subsidize companies to give them an unfair advantage, but it seems that they're suggesting it is. So, okay, that's the the front pages of the papers. What about local news, if any? And it says Strep A, connection to scarlet fever and exact case numbers in Sussex. Well, I'll let you find out about how many cases there are. But there is now a considerable concern about Strep A and its effect. Tesco said to make huge club card change for millions ahead of Christmas. Don't know quite what that's about. The energy price cap goes up to £4,279 a year. But you won't have to pay, it says. What's it mean? You won't have to pay. Energy price cap, but you won't have to pay. Well, let's see. The price the government will pay to shield householders from enormous energy bills will more than double in the new year. After Ofgem raised the price cap, the decision will not increase the amount consumers have to pay to use gas and electricity. Well, that's good news, I suppose. And there is one other concern for those of us in Lewis, and that is that Lewis is at the centre of probably the highest radon reading. Radon is an inert gas that floats around without us knowing it, but it can cause cancer if taken in doses. And it's a natural gas. Nobody's pumping it into the atmosphere. But it is one of the highest areas is Lewis, and so that's a worry for us. All right. I think that covers more or less the. It covers more or less the. News as it stands at the moment. So we'll see how we go, and it looks as if we've got a decent picture this morning, and I'm happy to be with you. It'll be a truncated version because of various reasons. I can't go much after about 9:30, 9:45, but we'll take a little look at one or two things until then. One of the things that we have said that we will do is to show you Uh, well, tell you what. Let's invite people to visit Lewes first of all. That's the answer. Well, that's ended pretty abruptly. Some of these things do. Hang on, where are we? Oh, I know. We have to close this, and then we can. Here we go. There we go. That that was a little a generic thing to say. Do join us in Lewes. Nice town, interesting place, and why not? Why not a place that you should visit? Unique little place. A unique little place. Only 17,000 population. And one of the things that has happened is the high street is still full of individual shops. A lot of the chains, or one or two exceptions, Nero, for instance, is there, and the Ask restaurant chain. But other than that, there are a lot of individual shops, which gives it a character that is missing in many other parts of the country. And so that's where we actually see things, I suppose, a little differently. And but I'll tell you what we are going to do. I'll tell you what we are going to do. We are going to show you what happens in Mirador television on Christmas Day. And here we go. Well, that's the sort of thing that happens to Christmas Day for those of us associated with Mirador. It's not a bad day, lots of Bloody Marys, but being good and going to church on Christmas Day. The issue of church is one of concern, I think, that we now have less Christians are in the minority, those who believe in Christ now in this country. Having said that, we are still the state religion, and the king is head of the Church of England, and that's the way, as far as I'm aware. There is nothing that's being set to try to change it. No, indeed, there's not. And why should I be concerned? Well, I don't suppose I'm really concerned if that's what people want. Thing is, that a lot of nonconformist churches go on really quite serious recruiting methods to try and get in their congregations, whereas the Church of England tends to stand by and say, we're here for you. If there's only one, we'll get on with it. Well, it's difficult to say, isn't it? Difficult to say, indeed. All right, well, that's what you can expect from Christmas Day on Mirador, and I hope that you'll sign in, get your mouse out, click on Christmas Day with Mirador, and share a little bit of it with us on that day, as we plough through another season's festival. Why do we? We're always, aren't we, talking about booze? But you know that the funny thing is that it is a fact that we all drink a fair amount at Christmas, and nobody feels terribly ashamed of it. But there's lots of people in this world who are much less fortunate than us, and we sometimes forget about that in the glow of what we will do ourselves on Christmas Day. And this program was made in 2018, but not much has changed. Not much has changed at all. He said.
Here's the news this Christmas. There have been 68 conflicts going on in the world this year. Disease has affected billions. Famine has hit 78 million. 830 million have gone hungry. 100 million are without homes. 250,000 acres of forest disappear every day. 250 million children can't read. 21 million children are forced to work. 3 billion live in poverty. 1.25 million violent crimes in the UK. 300,000 workdays lost from strikes. Over 1 million telephone calls for cruelty to animals. A very happy Christmas. The UK and US will spend over £100 million this Christmas. Goodbye.
Well, That was done in 2018, despite the fact that our masters keep getting together and saying that they're going to do something about these things. Is very little gets done. One of the things that is of interest, I think, is that we are slow to embrace in this country corporate social responsibility, CSR. CSR is now a global issue, dictated in many respects by the United Nations. And it covers the responsibility that businesses should have, corporates should have, towards various things like their environment, to homelessness, to illiteracy, but also at a more local level is to make sure that it is dealing, various businesses are dealing sensibly with and sensitively with local issues. And I have been watching the fight between the developers of the bus station and the general public, who are very anxious to make sure that the bus station doesn't disappear, not in toto anyway. It remains a bus station where it is, even if the building becomes something else. Well, now, there have been various suggestions, and one of the interesting things is that in the objections to the planning application, the biggest total was for Lewis Town Council, which got something like 800 objections in varying degrees. But it spearheaded the move against changing this venue and changing the building. And it got a lot of support. It looks as if not much can be done or is being done to stop the development in the town centre of the bus station into various houses and little boutique shops and that sort of thing. But not much to do with alleviating local homelessness. Now, one of the various issues, various ways of trying to change the approach of the developer have been tried and found wanting. And I have suggested, although nobody has taken me up on it, is that corporate social responsibility might be the trick, because essentially this company does not have, as required, a director who looks after things while everybody's fighting out to look after the local community. And it boasts on its website that it works very closely with the local community to develop its various projects. And some of them are very good looking. And I'm delighted that they have tried to work with the local community, but they haven't tried to work with our local community. It has been loggerheads all the way. And my suggestion is that to the authorities and to individuals is that let's take a look from the corporate social responsibility point of view. The developer does have a moral responsibility, if not a legal one, to take account of the harm it will do to the environment and to the sensitive nature of local animals and so on. Well, we're a local animal. We're a local animal. And local animals need looking after. And that's what corporate social responsibility is intended to do. Now, there are some countries in the world where it has become, CSR has become law in its own right. There is a CSR bill, and I think it was Denmark who was the very first to actually worry about this sort of thing, because I think it started in 1929 with Denmark. But our own approach to it has been far less speedy, and I think it is time that we followed the diktats of the conference, even if we're not getting our own way, and to try to make sure that we've got a decent place for any child to be brought up in. And as you can see, nothing can be more serene or quiet than just so there we are. Just trying to figure out. No. Is one of the issues that comes up from time to time is the question of food banks and how they should be used. 12 months ago, there was a really concerted effort done by a whole section of our community to make sure that food banks were highlighted, and that people would use their conscience to support them. Well, now, this was made once again before the deadly effects of lockdown. But since then, the food bank people have reported that the donations are down considerably. And I wonder whether, in fact, we should not give way to that, but to determine in many ways what we should be doing to support food banks. So let's just run this past you.
My name's Mark Perryman. I've lived in Lewes for about a decade. I've never really been involved in, I guess, what people call community campaigning before. I've always been interested in politics, making a difference, but the coronavirus crisis made me want to do something. And I've kind of been an event organiser since I was a student, so I've got a kind of organisational mind. And I came up with this idea of an all-day food bank collection, which we started at Waitrose on Easter Saturday, and it really grew from there. We started off at one supermarket, and then I contacted the cricket club, Lewes Priory Cricket Club, and I said to Peter, I said, would you come in your whites? He said, yeah, we're coming on whites. Well, they turned up outside Waitrose in whites, pads, padded gloves, helmet, visors down. And so everybody who was going to Waitrose knew that Lewes Priory Cricket Club cared about food poverty, and that's what switched in my mind. I thought, why don't we create not a kind of coalition which is like a committee, but a public and visual coalition. So on our Saturdays we have 9 sports clubs, 7 bonfire societies, 4 churches, 3 political parties, bands, musicians, artists, poets, keep fit fanatics, chefs, a yoga group, a book group, through the whole day, and we've expanded across all 3 supermarkets, Aldi, Tesco's and Waitrose. It's an extraordinary visual coalition of a town that cares. And also, we're saying food poverty exists in this town, in this wonderful town of ours. There is food poverty, and that stretches to childhood malnutrition. Of course, we shouldn't have to do something about this. We're the 6th richest economy in the world, for goodness sake. We shouldn't have to have food bank. And this is where I get quite emotional. In '84, I was out collecting tins of food for striking miners. And when people say, sorry, I always well up at this, when people say, what are you doing this for? I say, because now we're having to collect food for our neighbours. That's the state that we're in. Obviously, that's been created by the coronavirus crisis, but don't go away with the impression it's going to get any better next year, because then there will be the redundancies and the mass unemployment. And so this is a desperate need, and of course we shouldn't need to have to collect for food banks. But in the here and now, I wanted to stop people being starved back to work. I want to stop people having to starve through Christmas. And we're making a difference. We're making a massive difference in this town. We enter each item of food that's been collected. The food bank gives us a list of 24 items they need. So we're not only collecting quantity, it's quality. So we can lift people's morale and lift their health as well. Then we have a very complicated system of delivery to 3 different food banks, Lamport, Mallings and Fitzjohn's, all through the day. Some of them have different needs to others. What we do is we ensure that each food bank gets a third from Tesco's, a third from Aldi, a third from Waitrose. People start by going out on their Saturday shop, and we ask them to add 1 item to their shopping list. Lots of people are generous and they add considerably more, but all we're asking is for 1 item, and that adds up to 5,661 items by the end of the day. And then we have our secret shoppers. We will raise something in the region of £700 through donations. People who can't come out on the day, can't help, they're not shopping, they'd like us to collect something. Our secret shoppers go into the supermarket, and because we've recorded everything's been donated, we see, we're a bit short of coffee, we're a bit short of bars of chocolate, we're a bit short of cereals, and we bump that up. Lewes is a town full of sounds, isn't it? We've got 13 choirs, we've got brass bands, we've got ska, we've got folk, we've got 7 panto casts. They're going to be there collecting, and they're going to be singing, "He's behind you," "No he's not," "Yes he is." There'll be all of that. And it's another symbol of a town coming together. We will be socially distant, we will be wearing masks and visors, and we'll be keeping back. But just to remind people that, the spirit of Christmas is needed more than ever.
Well, I'm missing, aren't I? There we go. We should be. There we are. We're back with you. Now, that was, of course, a little outdated, but nonetheless, it had a marvellous response. And one would hope that it's exactly the sort of thing that we are going to experience as in this run-up to Christmas, to look after those people who are less fortunate than ourselves. I actually know a little bit, or understand a little bit, of what Christmas can be or cannot be. For a variety of circumstances, because I've moved around a lot, as my immediate family are in 2 places. One is in Belfast in Northern Ireland, and the other is in various places in Canada. And it means that I'm here on my own. Now, I've got lots of friends, and I'm part of the community. I like to think I am. And indeed, what we're doing is we're holding a carol cocktail party, a wine party, on the 22nd of December here in the hotel, in the what used to be called the Farmer's Bar, in front of a roaring fire, Christmas tree, and with let's see, I've got to get it right, is the Paddock Choir, which I understand are all ladies, and they will be singing carols throughout the evening. do drop by and stick your nose in. We're going to be broadcasting it live, and we hope that we will have some of our leading citizens there to show solidarity, first of all, with the support for Christmas and those people who are less fortunate, but also that the high street is suffering and has suffered for some time. And if we can do something like this, it's our little contribution to lighting up the high street. And if we can do that in a concerted effort, a concerted way, we have invited people, key people, to come along on that evening, and I hope that they will. And if they don't, we shall have a jolly good time ourselves, because we shall broadcast it to as many people as we can get to actually tap in. And I would hope that it's a very jolly occasion, and that it actually does give the support which is needed. I've been very critical of what's happening in the town and the high street. I don't think that we have imaginative leadership in the various levels of councils. And anyway, much of that leadership is now in Eastbourne, and as we said when we criticised the move, is Eastbourne centred and not Lewis. There isn't the appetite, and there isn't the leadership to actually get things going. We've seen the last couple of years a couple of very proactive mayors, Stephen Catlin, who was involved heavily with this television station, and John Lamb, who gave us support. We haven't seen much this year. And we understand that really now we understand, so be careful, that there are two parties that are going on at the town hall for the councillors and presumably a guest, and we're paying for it. Put it bluntly, not such a hot way of going about things, I think. But nonetheless, as if there are two parties there, I hope that somebody from outside the council will be invited. If not, let's see how it shows up in the books. Yeah, let's see. Not that many of us go to take a look at the books. That's what they rely upon. Okay, now, because I have to truncate this morning, one of the things that we have been doing is we've been showing well, let's see, the documentary series, The Bloody Past of a Tiny Town, and is if we can find it, it is not easy sometimes to discover where these things are. Let's see if we can find another episode of it, because it was acclaimed, and we've got lots of episodes, but not the one we're really looking for, because we're trying to do this in order. We've got everyone but the one that we want. Isn't that always the way? Isn't that always the way? But well, What the heck? Is we can well, I'm flapping a bit, aren't I, at the moment? Never mind. Never mind, indeed. What we will do is perhaps we will amuse you for a moment, although whether it's amusing or not. But at Christmas time, ghost stories under the Christmas tree are terribly, terribly interesting, aren't they? Aren't they? Aren't they? Aren't they? Let's go to a ghost story.
Many people find commuting by train tiresome. But one of the pleasures of taking a train to London is that it passes through some of the most beautiful countryside in the UK. None more so than the view of the countryside as the line approaches Clayton Tunnel, just north of Brighton. The tunnel is the longest on the line, at 1.25 miles, running under the South Downs. It's unusual because the entrance is not the usual railway brick. It is instead designed to look like the gateway to a castle. On top is a cottage built for the railway's lightkeeper in 1849. The tunnel itself was opened in 1841 and the cottage added later. Idyllic. But after 1861, it became a nightmare, or at least for those who believe in ghostly goings-on. In August of that year, a night train left Brighton, travelling north to London. Partway through the tunnel, it stopped at what it thought was a danger signal from the lightman. The engine driver was correct. The railway official had indeed given a danger signal, but the train had rushed past him before pulling up. Thinking the train had cleared the tunnel, the unfortunate lightman gave the all clear to a following train. And it slammed into the back of the first train in the dark, killing 23 and injuring 176 more. It was the worst ever accident on the line. People walking on downs over the underground passage have reported hearing the screams of the passengers as the trains piled into each other. The line is now also a direct line from Lewes. I've travelled through that tunnel 1,000 times. I've never heard a scream. other than the screech of the wheels and brakes. But I've never walked over the downs at that point either. And I turned down an invitation to stay in the cottage overnight. In fact, I get tense each time I go into the tunnel, knowing what had happened more than 165 years ago. But my fellow passengers carry on reading their newspapers, obviously oblivious to both the tragedy and the ghosts. I could sometimes scream at them. The ghosts of Clayton Tunnel. Eerie. Bloody eerie.
Well, Well, that's our way of showing you various parts of the world, and we started off with southeast England, just to give you some idea of the way that we were doing it. Some model trains, which appealed to a lot of people, some local scenery, which appealed to others, and generally speaking, a view of what the country and the area is like. Different way of doing it. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But we're more than happy to experiment on this program, and that's the way we experimented. Now it is 9:34. I am going to just repeat the headlines because actually there isn't much to say, other than the England side beat Senegal last night to at 3-0 to clinch a place in the quarterfinals of the World Cup. It is capturing our imagination, and it's capturing the way that we lift the national mood, which is great gloom and doom, because there's not much else on the horizon. Energy prices stay punitive. Inflation still is not coming down. Price rises in the superstores are increasing almost daily. The key people are striking. Now it's the weathermen who say that they're going to go on strike. But we're bracing for the fact that we may have a strike in the NHS, and the rail unions have said no to any offer. Apparently, it's an 8% offer, and they are sticking to their guns, and they're going to strike too. So, while we can immerse ourselves in the magic of Christmas and the special time of year, and the good feeling of the national football team taking us through to the next round, it is a grim world out there, and I'm afraid that grim world is not particularly useful to us. In fact, it's making life pretty damn miserable. So I'm going to say cheerio now. We will be back with a full program tomorrow, and we look forward to seeing you. And do join us. We're here every morning, 8:30, normally until 11. This morning only till 9:45. But we will most certainly be with you again tomorrow. Until then, toodle pip, toodle pip.